So you beautiful people, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to give my review of the Battlefield 2042 beta. Now that may be unusual to a lot of you guys, as most of you will tune into this channel for Call of Duty, but I've had this love affair, secret love affair made with Battlefield for many years, starting from Bad Company, and Battlefield 3 was probably my favourite Battlefield of all time, and it's just a game that I've always played, especially when I've got highly frustrated with Call of Duty, which seems to be every year going forward. Now, before I continue with the video, if you are new here and you do like what you're seeing, consider subscribing to the channel and drop a comment down in the comment section, and also a like if you do enjoy the video. So, what do I have to say? What does Trakky have to say about Battlefield 2042? Well, the first standout thing for me whilst playing this game, literally in the first couple of games I noticed, which I really liked, was the fact that it's set in the near future, but it really doesn't seem obvious, and I really like that about it. You're not shooting laser beams or anything that's really far-fetched. Everything seems very realistic to the times we're living in now, and it's probably in a more commercialized way. And when I say that, electric vehicles are slowly edging ground and getting more popular and more popular. You drive electric vehicles in this particular game, and you can see some of the technologies, like the Osprey is using some type of engine which isn't a combustion engine. It's more like a pulse engine or whatever it is, and these are obviously going to be technologies that are lurking around the corner quite often. The army, the soldiers, the marines, and all those guys will use technologies that are very alien to us or very futuristic to us, but ultimately they become day-to-day things in the future. And that's what I really like about this. It's not set too far in the future. In comparison, yes, you'd say it's 20 odd years away, but it seems very realistic. And another game that seemed a little far-fetched at the time was Black Ops 2, but a lot of technologies in that game actually exist in this day and age now. So that was something that I really liked as soon as I booted up this game. It just seems like we're still playing a game that we can actually relate to without thinking, wow, this is just so fake. So one thing I'm going to mention before we go any further into this is no one revives in this goddamn game, and everybody has the ability to revive now, which is really infuriating, and it's something that's always infuriated me in Battlefield in the first place. Anyway, you no longer have to be a medic to revive people. Everyone has the ability. Now, I'm going to guess that they are trying to get people back in the fray and make the map a little more frantic in terms of firefights, but I feel as if they've kind of missed something here. I don't know if the map's too big, because classically that's what Battlefield maps are supposed to be like. So you can have helicopters, jets flying around, tanks on the ground, ATVs, and also foot fights. But I don't know if the map is just too big and bigger than any we've ever had. I couldn't tell you the scale here, or whether the objectives themselves are just very badly placed in this particular map. I can't quite put my finger on it, but if you are not around any objectives, you will rarely encounter any fights. And if you do encounter fights, you will fight something that I really detest and really hate and really wished wasn't in the game, and that is the artificial intelligence. I just hate that in any type of game, because I think it does you a disservice as a player if you get a kill on what is basically essentially a fake person. There's no skill, reason, or rhyme behind that for me, and that's why I would essentially prefer it just to strictly be another player playing you. I don't feel Battlefield would have any problem, especially with crossplay, in filling lobbies. There is a cult following of this game, just like there is a cult following of people playing Call of Duty. Now, I can't not mention this, and I understand before I even go any further, this is one, a beta, 2, it's a very old build of the game. I think it's about 3 months old. So they've definitely come on leaps and bounds since then. But what I played, and that's what I'm reviewing here, there were a lot of stability issues. Now, I was running this on my PC. I could run it in ultra settings on my 2080 Super, but I chose to run it on high settings. I didn't really notice that big a difference in performance between the two because both gave me performance issues, and even on a low setting I found that I was having performance issues in terms of glitching, stutters with the game sometimes, people bouncing around and rubber banding, lots of performance issues which I understand that they're going to try and resolve. However, if I have a PC that is supposed to be capable of running most games without any problems and in quite some good graphical settings, then that's what I expect to be playing. Now, that may hurt some of you to hear that I've actually moved to PC and I could consider myself a PC gamer, but I have absolutely, those of you who've seen my gaming setup, absolutely massive ultra wide 49-inch screen that my lovely missus brought me for Christmas, and I want to utilize that in its full glory. So I would like the game to run a bit smoother. I did find that when I was flying around in helicopters and stuff, sometimes I would be able to see whoever's sitting with me, the character models, and not the actual vehicle itself. So there's a lot of fine tuning and polishing that needs to happen with this game. And whilst we're talking about the graphical performances, also the audio didn't sound quite like a Battlefield game to me. I always play Battlefield in the war tape setting. I feel like it gives a bit more of a theatrical sound in terms of the explosions. It makes it more immersive in terms of, I feel like I'm actually in the battlefield, and that's what you want with this game. You want to feel as if you're a virtual reality soldier. That's what people play this game for. And there was just something wrong, as if, to me as a music producer, it sounded as if someone forgot to turn the treble itself up in the game, and they've just put the bass and the mids up and totally forgot to give us that clarity and that crispness in the sound with the treble. It sounded almost muffled, as if I was to talk now with my hands in front of my mouth, you wouldn't get the clarity you're getting until I move my hands away. And that's what the game seems to sound like to me in comparison to other Battlefield games. And I understand from people I've spoken to, whether it's via Twitter, my cousins, my family, that the game runs even worse on consoles, whether you're playing on a PlayStation 5, a Xbox One, or definitely the previous generation consoles to those now. Yes, people are having real problems, so there's definitely some fine-tuning that needs to happen before this game gets released. And now it makes sense to me why they've chose to hold off on the release of the game and kind of fine-tune it better, which I graciously would wish Call of Duty would do the same, but evidently they don't want to do this. And I think the difference is between the two developers now is when it came to Battlefield 5 and everything that followed, when they came out and said to Battlefield players, if you don't like it, don't buy the game. That's what Battlefield gamers did. They literally didn't buy the game, and the developers literally had to grovel and listen to the community. And it's something I wish would happen with the likes of Activision and all of their developers. But anyway, I digress. So I wished we had more maps in the beta. That's another thing. At least 2 maps, maybe 3, just to give us a real taste of what to expect, especially because I didn't really get on with this map, seeing how it was so big. Now, we would have got a bit more variety and a bit more of an understanding in the direction they're going with the maps if they provided us with more, and we could just ascertain straight away whether it's just that particular map we didn't like, or whether the same game design choices are going to be placed in every single map. Now, I understand when we talk about maps and me saying they are big, that we are talking about Battlefield, and some guys that may not translate to you very well because it's Battlefield and there's vehicles, but there aren't an unlimited supply of vehicles. And one thing I found really strange is when you call for your drop, you press B and call your vehicle in. I've had my vehicle stolen on several times, and because it's been stolen, I don't know where it is on the map, and also I can't call in another one until that one's, I'm assuming, going to be destroyed, and that's why you can't have another one, which was a really odd game decision choice for me. Moving forward, one thing, and you probably see it in the footage, that I really found hard and I was struggling with was the character models. Everybody looks the same. It's very hard to distinguish between your enemies and your colleagues on the game, and quite often I found myself shooting at my teammates simply because they looked like enemies to me. They had that silly little blue dot over their head that was in Modern Warfare 2019, and you guys will know that I absolutely hated that. Me personally, because I play Valorant quite a lot, and that is a very intensive game in terms of you need to win your gunfights when you see somebody, I have a ever so slight yellow outline of my enemies, and then my teammates are highlighted differently. Now you can't see that through walls, but when you see the enemy physically, it gives you that initial check in your brain to say, I need to shoot that person. And instead of highlighting a little dot over their head, I would prefer just an ever so slight outline, nothing too obvious, but something that if you are paying attention, you would definitely see. And I'm not talking about highlighting that person in total blue. I want to see the character models, but I would like to see an outline to distinguish who's friendly and who's an enemy. That's something they probably could consider giving us the option if we want the dot or the outline. I don't know, that's entirely down to the developers, but that's just a suggestion for me. Now, the creator class thing is a point that I'm going to talk about because of the design decisions in the game. Now, I love the fact that they have included the attachments in the game where you can change them literally on the fly. It's a very, very good addition, and it's very clear from the way that everyone can revive each other and stuff. What the developers are trying to do in Battlefield is make firefights more interesting, but also they're definitely, it's no secret, they're trying to appeal to the Call of Duty player as well. They're trying to do what Call of Duty did to Battlefield. Battlefield had its game modes, Rush, Conquest, and Call of Duty chose to put is it Ground War that it's called? Yeah, I think it's Ground War. I'm thinking in my head of the original one. But whatever mode was put in Modern Warfare 2019 where you captured the objectives, that was basically to try and attract Battlefield players, because Battlefield pulled a stinker by telling people if you don't like it, don't buy the game. It was a very good PR move by Call of Duty. So Battlefield is trying to get their own back by making this game more like and more accessible in terms of movement and gunfights as Call of Duty. They've changed recoil system and stuff slightly to make it more appealing to newer players, I would say, and Call of Duty players. But that could be at the detriment of the likes of your traditional hardcore fan base. That's a very dangerous move I think they've pulled off here. Now, me personally, I felt like the gunfights were fine. Sometimes inconsistencies would creep into the game. I don't know whether this was down to the servers, which I wouldn't think so, because the servers tend to be very reliable. I'm going to go for a netcoding issue. I'm not a guy that's technically qualified to comment on this, but something just didn't feel right in some guns, and some guns felt quite the same to use. And it was very clear that there were two particular guns that were just very, very powerful. Most people used them over other guns, but the gunfights and the gameplay I really enjoyed. And going back to the movement and stuff, it's definitely something where you can slide cancel, you can jump around corners. It's definitely going to make for more interesting gunfights, but also it's going to be much more accessible for Call of Duty players. They've obviously taken some of the better parts of Hardline and incorporated them back into this game. And Hardline was kind of a Marmite Battlefield, whereas it definitely dumbed down Battlefield to a degree to, again, try to access Call of Duty players, but it was to the distaste of a lot of Battlefield players. And I think a happy medium is in this game between those two games, where it still feels like a Battlefield, but it doesn't feel super Call of Duty-ish like Hardline did. And I think that's a very, very good balance that they've managed to achieve in this game. But overall, I feel like there's a lot of potential and promise if they can iron out these issues that they have currently in the beta going forward. Guys, down in the comment section, let me know, did you play the Battlefield 2042 beta? What did you play on, and did you have the same kind of experience as me, or was it worse, or was it better? Guys, there are many buttons you could hit, but like and subscribe button, I hope they tickle your fancy, and as always guys, don't forget to stay on the right track. Peace.